true liberation requires more than just trappings of sovereignty and then something written on paper where we'll say we are liberated or we say we're independent, because political independence without economic independence is no independence at all. And so true liberation requires and demands that there be economic empowerment and that there be self-reliance. And so as Africans, we as nations that form Africa as a continent must reclaim control over our resources. We must be willing to focus on investment, and this investment first begin an investment in human capital. We're investing on people, and that then with it we foster indigenous industries. Now we encourage local investment in the different sectors of the economy. And this is one of the reasons, is because if we have local investors, every profit that comes out of the businesses they own is going to be used in the continuous redevelopment of the economy of the country and other sectors. And there is nothing like profit repatriation, which one of the things that is really draining the African continent of its resources and in a way preventing it from growing as fast as it could grow, because it's proven it has potential, is profit repatriation. More than half of all the big industries in most part, if not all, in the African continent is foreign owned, whether it is Indian owned or Chinese owned, Japanese owned, Russian owned, American owned, British owned. In some ways it's foreign owned, and these foreign companies and their owners every financial year do what we call profit repatriation. That means the profit that is gotten out of the sale of the business after all expenses are cut off and considered and settled, it is taken back. If it is a Chinese-owned business, it's taken back to China to do development in China. If it's Indian-owned, it's taken back to India to do development in India. And so what is left in the country is just enough in circulation to keep the business running, not to grow it, not to expand it, not to establish branches or things like that. But if it is local investors, every cent, irrespective of whatever currency is used in your country, that they would get, they will use it within the country, whether it is expand that business in the same area, grow it, establish a branch in another part of the country somewhere, one, creating more jobs, two, more infrastructural development and services are brought nearer to the people. That is how we grow and change. And so, in a way, we therefore need to encourage these indigenous industries so that we're able to drive sustainable development. And with it, of course, we also, I know for this to happen, some of the things we also need to focus on is working on having equitable trade relations, first within Africa, among African nations, and then with it having a strong voice that we can have it in the global market, that we fight for a fair access to the global market. And one of the ways we can achieve that is when we are speaking as the African continent, not individual countries that makes it. You see, let me give an example. When China gets into the global market, China sent a representative talking on behalf of over 1 billion people. And so the voice is louder, the influence is stronger, and the bargaining power is better because he or she who is representing China is representing over 1.1 billion people. And that is a power and an influence to be reckoned with, because the people in the global market will not want to risk losing a market of 1 billion people. The same is with India. When India speaks, India, whoever represents just one representative and is speaking on behalf of over 1 billion people. And that is the same case with what would happen with China. They don't want to lose a market of over 1 billion people. Now, African continent, we are over 1.2 billion people at this point. We would have the same bargaining power and kind of influence in the global market up there if we were united. But unfortunately, when Africa is speaking in the global market, what happened is we are having 54, at least at the moment, almost 55 now, 54 different heads of state. Each person trying to speak for his or her own people. Someone from Uganda is speaking and representing about 46 million. Someone from Kenya is speaking and representing about 50 million. Someone from Nigeria is speaking, representing about 200 something million, and the list continues. And so at the end of it all, you were speaking representing 46 million or 50 million or 70 million people. You don't have the kind of influence like the one who is representing 1.1 billion people has. And so at the end, even if what you were advocating for is really strong and good, you cannot be taken seriously, because at the end, if you refuse and the other 1 billion people plus says it is okay, we can get rid of you. We are okay losing 46 million people if we have 1.1 billion people who are still willing to do business with us. And so for us to have this fair access to the global market, Africa and its leadership needs to stop this divide and get rid of the colonial boundaries and get rid of some of the things that was created by the colonial powers for their benefit, not ours, so that we work towards a united state of Africa, something that is more unified. And so, lastly, I need to talk about this. After dealing with having a fair access to the global market, we of course also need to work on robust policies that nurture entrepreneurship and policies that nurture innovation from within the continent. That we support and invest in these things. Very, very important. I believe that as Africans and as a continent, there's a huge potential. We could be a force to be reckoned with, but some of these things I've mentioned here needs to happen if we are going to thrive, not just survive.